Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Riverdale, as well as the latest episode of Happy. Like always, if I'm talking about something that you want to listen to, you can always look in the description down below. I include the timer and I start talking about each of the respective shows. So, for example, if you want to hear what I had to say about this week's episode of Riverdale, you can skip to what I had to say about this week's episode of Happy. But the first thing I want to talk about is this week's episode of Riverdale. In this episode, a lot of things went down. It's kind of interesting seeing Betty's story in this episode, considering the whole she's looking for her long-lost brother, because for her it's kind of to fill that vacuum in their family because Polly's gone, which is so interesting around her story, she went off and had the kids and the family. She didn't really tell anybody, not even her, even though Betty was the one person that Polly ever relied on, which is kind of crazy. Everything Betty's ever done, and she's always done so much and going out of her way for you, and you just kind of left her out like that. Is it because I guess it's the fact of the matter is they've set it up that basically no one in that family is 100% okay. Betty's got her issues, Polly's got her own issues, considering situation between her and Jason and her babies and that whole situation. It seems like she's got caught up with this group known as the Farm. I don't remember them expressly explaining how that situation came to be, how she met the people. Maybe it had to deal with the days that she was with the sisters and everything that she knew about this place. But the way Betty's kind of it's very cultish. It's it seems like one of those situations of she's pulling away from her family. I mean, granted, her family's got its issues to the point, obviously her and her mom butt heads a lot. Her mom can be a lot sometimes, can be a bit crazy, but at the same time, it's just because her mom is very caring and is isn't very diggity. She's very overprotective. So, I think, I'm sure there's always a curiosity too from Betty too. She needs to know her brother. So I think it's mainly for Alice, but I think in her own heart, it's also for her sake as well. What I am curious about though is why Hal was kind of super against it. The reason why Alice was against it at first was just because of no, Hal, your dad's right. But then later on, she's we can't let your dad know the truth, that we're going to look into your brother. And it was just kind of interesting to me. I'm curious about it. I guess it's because he knew how much giving up that child, what it did to Alice, all those years ago. I mean, to be fair, season 1 made it seem like it was 100% Hal. He's the one that kind of pushed Alice to do it in the first place, which I'm sure that hurts her even more because it's their son resents her now because of, it was a decision they both made, but Hal kind of pushed her for the most with it. So I assume that's kind of a contributing factor in that regard. So. But it's I guess because maybe the state of mind she was in at that time, and it's he didn't want to see her go down that rabbit hole because he already sees how she is with this whole Polly situation. It devastates her to know okay, one of my daughters hates me. She's trying to keep my own grandchildren away from me, which is well, the fact of the matter is everything that Alice did to her in season 1 is kind of you see where Polly's coming from, but at the same time it's your own hatred of your even Betty kind of calls her out for it. It's what you're doing is a very selfish and self-centered. I know you have a problem, but come on, you're literally keeping your parent away from their grandchildren. It's kind of messed up no matter what the circumstances around them are, because Alice would, love those kids. She can, once again, she can be crazy, but she's super protective of the people she loves and, most important, family, so. But Charles, obviously, like I said, wasn't receptive to the whole situation. He did kind of get a little hurt, and so Betty ended up bringing him back to their house where he's kind of staying, which immediately that situation happened. I'm that's a setup, isn't it? He set that situation up because he wanted, because he makes it sound like he actually came around their house before, but he never went in just because it's he figured they wouldn't want him there. The fact is the fact is that the sisters kicked him out because he basically stayed in a foster system. Because you can once you turn 18, you're kicked out of the foster system. But the way he was talking about kicked out, almost he got into so much trouble that he ended up getting kicked out. And he was also saying that basically his job is fantasy fulfillment. So I don't know whether he was saying that just to bother Alice or whether that was the truth. Maybe it is, which is kind of interesting because it seems like Cheryl's mom is gonna doing that same thing. But I'll get to that soon enough. But I was I'm curious what that's all about, especially because it seemed like they're setting him up to kind of be a disturbed character, the way he was looking at Betty like that. And then in the episode, it's just something just didn't seem all right. And the whole voiceover being oh, that she welcomed dealing with the whole monster situation, just cast one monster out of like Riverdale, that being the quote unquote Black Hood, and now she's welcoming one into her home. And I'm curious what that whole situation was about. Was that like, because obviously it's probably going to be a situation of he's not the innocent person that they think he is, but I'm curious to kind of quickly find out like Charles' whole situation. Like, was that planned, or was that just a fortunate situation? Maybe he put himself in that situation. Maybe that guy was in on it, or maybe he wasn't. Maybe it was a situation that Charles manipulated so that Betty would feel the need to bring them home. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. Maybe he's going to pop up in their lives just to destroy their lives as a way of kind of getting back at them for abandoning him, the family that left him alone. Maybe this is all about hate. Maybe he's planning on stealing from them. I don't know. It seems more sinister than just stealing, but we'll just have to wait and see. A big part in this episode is we find out a little bit more about the lodge's plans, because it seems their plans include getting the mayor to shut down Southside. And so, because apparently they're trying to buy up the property, which is the same thing with the whole drive-in movie theater situation last season too, because lodges were buying that up. And now this too is like, for what purpose? Are the lodges trying to buy up all this property so they can put themselves back on the map? Because the thing is, like I've said, like, whatever it is can't be that bad. It might be a little shady, but it can't be 100% nefarious, for the fact is that Veronica's A-okay with it. They made a promise that they were going to tell her everything, and I think at this point, it seems like legitimately they probably have told her everything. I don't know if it's everything, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, like, because there's still that suspicion out there whether or not they are connected to the whole what happened to Fred situations, but like I said, like if it was something super nefarious, I don't think Veronica would cross that line. I mean, to be fair, it seems like they're setting up her story to make you wonder, like, well, would Veronica, like, where is that line for Veronica? Veronica's tried to be a good person, try to leave behind who she was before. Subsequently, since coming to Riverdale, it's like, well, maybe she's kind of becoming that person again. Maybe she's starting to truly live up to the lodge name. Maybe she's kind of embracing her quote unquote destiny, maybe that's what they're setting up. But like, I think it is. She does not think whatever they're doing is that bad. So students from Southside, not all of them, but a good chunk of the Serpents are now at Riverdale High, So Jug's kind of come back home, pseudo, but obviously there's problems. Cheryl's leading one charge against the Southside, kind of keeping that divide that was already existed outside of the school, bringing it within the school, the North versus the South. Obviously, one of the champions on that side is Reggie. He's kind of starting stuff. I thought it was kind of interesting that Cheryl tried to blackmail Archie. He's like, oh, be on my side or I'm going to tell Veronica about the fact that I saw you and Betty kissing. And I was like, oh, crap. I knew it was going to come back to bite him, but I didn't expect it like that. But what took me by surprise was like, he's like, well, yeah, the fact of the matter is I didn't come to talk to you about that, Cheryl. The fact of the matter is, like, me and Veronica, we were broken up at that time. I was like, holy crap. I was expecting that to be like a big plot point. I was like, oh, man, like, I thought that was going to be a big deal, but like, he shrugged it off. To be fair, he was trying to get information out of her at the time, but still. He did kind of handle it very nicely when he was trying to manipulate, like not manipulate it because it sounds so bad saying that, but kind of in a way he is, because Veronica felt something was off, but he was like, no, well, it's this. And it was like, oh crap, even Veronica was like, wait, you kissed Betty? Which kind of, for one, it's like that's her best friend. Plus, there's always been that Betty and Archie thing already, because remember, they made that promise from the beginning that they wouldn't let Archie come between them, but then they kind of let that go because, like, oh, Betty was dating Jughead and Veronica was dating Archie, so it wasn't that big of an issue. So it's kind of interesting that she let it go, but who's to say she let it go? There might be some slight animosity towards, Betty going forward. I don't know. Currently now, the only one who doesn't know, well, Betty doesn't know that Veronica knows, and Jughead doesn't know about it. So that's especially probably not something you really want Jughead to know about, especially with the circumstances where Jughead is now like fully embracing his serpent side. We've seen that more and more as the seasons progress. So he might not be so receptive to the idea of his best friend kissing his girlfriend, even if they were broken up. The fact of the matter is that was still a betrayal, bros and all that, So I'm very interested to see where that comes about. I kind of get the feeling like Veronica's probably going to mention that to Betty, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But it seems that basically Archie got in contact with an FBI agent named Adams. Well, not really got in contact, more like he found Archie because he's the one that's been spying on Archie, taking all the photos and everything. It seems like he's investigating the lodges and stuff like that. I don't know, it just kind of seems kind of interesting too that he's also by himself. Is that typical protocol for like FBI agents to be working solo? Because it starts begging the question immediately in my head is like, is this on the books? Because the fact of the matter is he's going out of his way to talk to a kid. You could talk to anyone. Like you could take time out to vet Fred yourself, but rather you're going to Archie, a teenager. So that kind of begs the question like, you're not really going the legal route for this. I don't know whether it's like he's got some personal vendetta against the lodges because it's like, well, the lodges screwed him over personally, or whether it's just like he's like, no, I know they're bad people, but I just can't prove it. And so this has become like that white whale of a situation for him. Like this is his white whale, his Moby Dick in this case. So I don't know. Maybe it's something like that. But just, like I say, it's just very suspicious. And because the moment you start popping up, I'm like, are you really an FBI agent? Because like the fact of the matter is, Archie didn't actually look into this too much. It's like, oh yeah, you have the card and everything, but that doesn't mean anything. You should kind of, I mean, I don't know if you really could check up on that. Like, it's just, you're in that situation where you're a teenager. So I think that kind of plays into the story. Like, well, adults tell you one thing, you're kind of more inclined to believe them, You don't realize that, adults can be just as manipulative and liars as other like people are. So but I think it's just because Archie kind of wants to give people the benefit of the doubt, like he does the lodge. It's like there's no way they're bad people and stuff like that, but then he brings up Adams brings up the whole Nick situation. Now the whole thing's got Archie paranoid because it's like, no dad, don't accept that money from the lodges. He's like, well, I already did, I have to pay them back and everything. They were doing a good thing for me, which we know it's like initially that was Veronica just kind of twisting their arm, but even they admitted, well, we could use this as an advantage because now Fred is in their debt, so he's more inclined to be like, hey, more helpful. They could turn to him and use him to kind of smooth things over going forward. They need an honorable man like him. Especially the way we see that from the very beginning, like Fred has been the most level-headed one because Alice was the one that was super like, oh, boo South Side, keep the divide between the South Side and North Side. But Fred was the more like, oh, we need to kind of come together, need to let some of our issues about like the whole situation go. So it does seem like they are possibly setting him up in a situation where it's like he could be the mediator for whatever needs to come, because Veronica acts as that for this episode because she's meant to keep the peace when when the shit hits the fan, because that's why her parents are like leaving it up to Veronica to be like, hey, keep her friends in line when the news breaks. And she tries to. Reggie does not make that easier. So I'm thinking that's something we're going to see definitely crossing paths more and more as we go forward. Though, like, the serpents have to act like they're very, what's the word I'm looking for? Sedated, essentially. Because even, like, Jug was the one that was like, no, I'm not backing down, wearing his, like, refusing to take off his jacket and everything. But I think there was a little bit of a look from Reggie when he saw like Jug kind of walking away from school being like, okay, if you're going to suspend me over it, then suspend me. I'm not going to take this jacket off. So I think you almost saw this look of almost respect from Reggie about it, but maybe it was a different look of almost like, because a similar situation happened in season 1, like he kind of started stuff and like Archie was there to kind of defend him. But I think it's kind of showing the fact is that Reggie might have his little army of his own and people to back him up, but so does Jug. He has the entire Serpents backing him up. And I think it might also be another perspective of looking at it like Jughead is not the same kid that you've known this time. Like, he's a different person. He's a serpent now, so don't let that kind of don't get it twisted in your head, essentially, because FP talked to Jughead about it. It's like, yeah, like, I know you don't like this. I don't like doing things the way I am either. But the fact of the matter is, you got to suck it up. Serpents, they hibernate. That's all we're doing. We're laying low, never forgetting who we are as serpents, so don't let anyone take that from you. But, got to lay low, play, like I said, sedated for a while. So hence them starting up that whole, like, kind of club, to kind of disguise things. What is it? It's a place for the serpents to really be themselves. So I'm curious to see what happens when the time comes. Like, what will they have planned for Riverdale High when the time comes to make their move? Because it does seem like, because Jughead is the most suspicious about the situation. He's the only one that's really asking questions. No one else is, because even the Serpents is like, well, I don't know, we get to go to a good school this time. I mean, they don't care about the other stuff, but it's like, oh, the school's in much better condition than Southside. In fact, it didn't matter. It's like, oh, we have literally good running toilets, which is kind of a sad situation that apparently you didn't have good toilets at Southside. That sucks. But then again, school bathrooms in general suck, at least in my recollection. It's been a long time since I've been in school, so I don't remember. It's clear, but nevertheless, I'm very interested to see what happens with everything kind of bubbling beneath the surface. Like I said, it's kind of been a town issue, and now you've seen that transfer over to the schools, which it was already an issue in the schools either already because of the divide, like, Archie and the Red Hoods. The Red Circle, I call them the Red Hoods. The whole Red Circle versus the Serpents situation, which that beef seems like it's possibly squashed. I mean, it doesn't seem like Sweet Pea holds as much of a grudge against Archie. At least he hasn't shown at this point in time, maybe specifically because of Jug, or maybe because the beef has to be squashed. Like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. Another part of this episode was like Archie deciding to look into this whole Nick situation, was finding out from Cheryl about that. See, that's what always throws me off about Cheryl, is because it seems like she's so manipulative in some points, but other points she's very sincere, because she ended up opening up her heart a little bit to Archie about the whole Nick situation, even talking about Veronica was like, oh, I thought she would have told you. And she was like, I'm sorry, Archie. It was not my place to say that. That was Veronica's situation to talk to you about. That wasn't my place. And even apologizing about it later on. So it's like she had to, like that. She's such a complex character because she can be wild and crazy and manipulative at other points, kind of doing things, kind of trying to get things her way, but so kind and misunderstood in others. It's just, like I said, like probably hands down easily one of the most complex characters on, because you're like, oh, Cheryl, ooh, and then it's like, oh, Cheryl, man, so I don't know, she always kind of leaves you, that duality to her character is like the biggest. Like I think next to her would obviously be like Betty, but still, like, everyone's kind of got that duality side going on to them in this show. So, but nevertheless, Archie uses this as an excuse to go see Nick to get her the money for Cheryl. And then he talks to Nick, trying to understand what happened to him, because it's like, okay, what happened to you an accident? Because everyone's saying it's an accident. Even like the Lodgers are like, oh yeah, it was an accident. It's, oh, terrible, huh? And even Archie asked Veronica later on about it. It's like, oh yeah, who did you tell? It's like, oh, the only person I told is Kevin, which we know as the audience, it's like, that's a lie. Because even Veronica, when she found out the truth about what happened to him, it's like, oh, good. He kind of got what he deserved. So she's in on this. So it's that situation again of like, for her, I think she looks at what her family does as kind of a necessary evil. Once again, like that situation of it can't be that nefarious. It might be shady, but it can't be that bad if she's going along with it. But like, once again, maybe that's the point, to kind of make you go, is Veronica crossing that line or not? But what took me by surprise was Archie beating the crap out of him, because it still did bother. The question then becomes like, well, is it because Nick tried to do something to Veronica that it could have been a near Cheryl situation? Luckily, nothing did happen with Cheryl, but it was super close, and that could have easily been Veronica in that situation. Could have, and that maybe that pisses Archie off most. It's like, is he there for such? Because obviously he's not there for noble reasons. Obviously he's working with the FBI, looking into his girlfriend's family, so that complicates things. And you have Nick saying this, and also like, oh yeah, the fact of the matter is, like, Veronica's a shark. She'll smell blood, and she'll kind of like essentially come after you like she did me. And it's just like, all that, like I said before, plus on top of that, him trying to pretend like he knows Veronica better than Archie does, and it just pisses him off. Don't talk about her after everything you tried to do, you piece of scum, so it is quite a surprise with that whole turn of events. And luckily Archie was able to kind of use a little subterfuge, and using the whole Betty situation, like I brought up earlier, to kind of like ease like, Veronica's mind, because she felt like he was hiding something, that he was a little off. And it's just like, wow. So I'm very interested to see how that whole situation turns about going forward, because it's like, lies and manipulation are going to run even deeper. I even like it being like Archie stepped out of the darkness and now he's facing forward in that darkness again, just because he is legitimately trying to do the right thing. Because it's like, well, the FBI is already investigating. It's like, if he can help out, he can take down some bad people, but at the same time, he can make sure that his dad and his girlfriend, they're two very important people to him, that they don't get mixed up in all of this, you know? Because I'm sure in his mind, he doesn't think Veronica knows anything about it, which in fact, she's playing a lead role in all of this, you know? And I'm curious to see what Archie says once he finds out that truth. Because eventually, I think Veronica is going to let him in because she might think like she can trust him, but we'll just have to wait and see. Also, I brought it up earlier. I thought it was kind of interesting, the whole like not Veronica, Cheryl's mom kind of doing her thing. Penelope, I always blink on her name. Doing her whole thing, like where we left off the Christmas episode. I'd completely forgotten until she brought it up this episode. And it seems like basically that's kind of Penelope's new thing. It's kind of her new job, kind of entertaining, being a companion, you know. There's other non-subtle ways to say that, but we'll leave that. Being companionship is kind of her job. And Cheryl's kind of like, oh yeah, here you go, mommy. You can have this money. You never have to do that again, so don't worry about it. It's like, well, Cheryl, I actually like doing this. Like, and you see it's almost like one of those moments of kind of like someone's eye twitching, like something just didn't process right in their brain, like the motherboard that is her brain to start frying or something. Because she's like, wait, what? And it's one of those things that's like, holy crap, you never, like, it's always interesting when you see even like what I brought up, the complexity that is Cheryl, but seeing her caught off guard. It's like, ew, I don't want to think about you doing that, mommy, like paying to be with people. It's just, you know, it's just kind of interesting that all that was for the purposes of trying to get her mom money to kind of stop her from doing that. That was just kind of interesting to me. And the fact is that she enjoys it and everything. It's like, hey, you know, what makes you happy, right? So that family's super complex. That family's super messed up in many different regards. But I'm very interested to see where that goes going forward. Just because, like I said, it just caught Cheryl off guard. It's crazy when you just think about how further and further this show will go and sort of, like, you know, something like that. It's just kind of like, huh, would expect that from like a CW show. But I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe just because there's other dramas that have been on TV. Like, I've never watched a lot, because a lot of my typical regard are like the more superhero or like fantasy or science fictional side of the CW, not the more like exaggerated reality but still grounded, like kind of soap opera dramas. I've never really watched any of those, so maybe that kind of fits, you know, that motif a little more. So Riverdale probably kind of fits along the same line with that tone of this other stuff. But I just, once again, it just Riverdale just constantly surprises you with that type of thing. But nevertheless, what was also interesting too is that Archie asked Adams about it. It was like, he doesn't think this is over, that they got the right guy. He just has this feeling. And I 100% agree. I mean, the twist might end up being the fact is, what if it's Adams? I mean, because the fact of the matter is, once again, we still have to go back to that situation of like, the Hood got inside of a police station. It's like, how did you do that? Like, even, what is his name? Joshua, the janitor. It's like, how would he slip into a jail cell and end up like into a police station? I mean, he broke in and everything is kind of what Sheriff Keller said. So, I mean, there's truth to that, because, I mean, which is also interesting too, because let's not forget, there's also that aspect of like him having an affair with the mayor, and now the mayor's got that deal going on with the lodges. So that's definitely going to get interesting, which begs the question, does he know? Does the principal know? Which I don't know. The principal definitely doesn't know, because, well, maybe, I don't know. No, he definitely doesn't know. But like, I wonder, would the mayor confide in Sheriff Keller about that whole situation or not? Another element we would just kind of have to wait and see. So I'm, like I said, a great episode. Glad to have Riverdale back. And I'm very interested to see what this all means going forward. And now moving on to this week's episode of Happy, a fantastic episode. But I love, so much to kind of break down in this episode. First of all, we get introduced to other imaginary friends. That's what I kept wondering about. It's like, because the way Happy talked about this job and everything, making it seem like there was like a system in this. And lo and behold, he's in like a support group for people forgotten by other imaginary friends. And it's just like kind of talking about what it's like, you know, because they eventually disappear from existence is what it's like when they don't believe. Because it is what I thought it was, like him shedding and everything, him losing his color. That's often a fact, is that Haley's losing more and more faith. Like her belief in him is fading away and everything. And then you had that one imaginary friend being like, oh, it's not monsters under the bed that you should be scared about for the people, for your friends. It's like, no, it's penises, big penises. It's like, wait, what? She's like talking about the fact is that I guess the person that she is imaginary friend to is like, that person's like pregnant and their water's breaking in the middle of class or something like that. I'm like, what the hell is this show that we have imaginary friends talking about stuff like? I was like, it's so good, and it gets so much better even on that imaginary friend front. I knew there was going to be something up with Raspberry, but I wasn't sure what. But I love the twist. It is like, oh, that's actually Blue's son's imaginary friend, and he's a little sociopath like his dad. It's like, holy crap. I thought maybe he was like some normal kid. It's like, no, he's a sociopath, because apparently he kind of plays twisted games with these other imaginary friends. It's like, oh yeah, like Raspberry leads them back. It's like, oh, you got nowhere else to go? Oh, come stay with me. And it's like all a big trap. Have you playing Russian roulette? There was the pancake friend that was like, no. It's like, oh, his hands are too thin to hold a gun. Don't worry, I'll get. Raspberry does it and pulls the trigger, and you see like what is essentially his brain kind of getting blown. It's like, that is super dark. I was like, that is so messed up. Seeing imaginary friends like that, and you have Happy losing his mind, like screaming. I was like, that's so dark, dude. Then like you see that he's got them pinned, other imaginary friends pinned up against like a wall, like almost like you would like hunt when you're hunting something, like, you know, you have something taxidermied or whatever. He basically has that for imaginary friends. They're like all nailed to the wall. So either some that he kills himself, keeps them long enough until he decides to kill them himself, or until they finally disappear because the said person that their kid doesn't believe in him anymore. I'm like, dude, that is so dark. And I love the fact is that, you know, Happy was getting beaten down, had his wings bitten up and everything. It was like, dude, this is not good. But hearing Nick's voice kind of pepped him up and everything, and he stabbed Raspberry with his horn. So I don't know if Raspberry's dead, but if not dead, he's pretty messed up. I think he's dead with all that blood and just the way his body. I was like, and then you see Happy just covered in blood, which I appreciate. That's kind of an interesting thing, because it's like the more time he's spending with Nick, it's the more he's becoming like Nick, and that's a very Nick move. So I just thought that was so well done. And like I said, I love the fact is that we did finally get that. Like, yeah, there are imaginary friends. Like I said, this world that they're building is crazy, and I'm loving it more and more. We kind of dive into it and understand it a little bit more. The whole Mikey situation, kind of like flipping around the episode a little bit. Mikey, it does seem like he is possessed with something, because all he can say is blue. Maybe, like I said, maybe on some level his body is driven by that instinct of like, oh, he was supposed to pass on the word to the password on to Blue. I was thinking that was like what I thought it was, like, but the fact is Nick is like, what is that password? I didn't care before, but I do know now. I was like, right, he didn't give you the password. I thought so. I was like, oh, maybe he did in that moment in time we just didn't. But it's like, no, I didn't think he'd ever gave Nick the password, but it's like everyone assumes he has it, and he's never bothered correcting anyone, because, you know, if he ever corrected anyone, they'd want him dead anyway. So it's always been his insurance policy to make sure that he stays alive. But that was just kind of interesting to me. I was like, right, he never did get the password. I just assumed, because I was like, oh, like Nick's never said anything, so I guess he did get the password. Nevertheless. But it seems like, because like Nick left him in Mikey with a priest, because Mikey couldn't say anything other than Blue, and the priest ended up running away and just letting Mikey go, because Mikey started speaking Latin in a demonic voice and everything. And then it's kind of like, wait, what? And then like, we didn't hear everything he got to say to him, because it would have been in Latin anyway. But whatever it was, it freaked out that father so much. And I love Nick's line when the dude's running away. He's like, you lost him? If I left you with a 12-year-old boy, you wouldn't have lost him. I was like, oh God, that's so, I was like, those type of jokes. Okay. But it did seem that whatever Isabella's whole situation was with that lady, like that whole, like, drawing in Mikey's soul, it did bring him to her. he was drawn to it, whether it was just naturally from the instinct of, oh, it's his favorite food, or whether it's just because it was this whole concoction of this kind of spell. But it does seem like that lady can see Mikey for what he really is, because the moment she saw him, she screamed. So she can see, because she does have some like supernatural ability, so she is tapping in. She can probably see him for what's really inside of him, which is like what I thought before. I was like, Mikey's possessed by a demon or something. There's no way he's just like back from the dead like that. Like I said, there might be a little smidgen of who Mikey was, but it seems like there's something else entirely. Whether that's because Mikey became that said thing, into that demon or whatever entirely, or something else entered his body, which I'm gonna have to wait on that. Because like I said, so far we haven't really seen like too much on the whole demon side, even though we know that monsters and stuff exist. But then, that's, like I said, it goes back to the question of what about that Santa Claus dude. Is like, he's definitely something else, but he's human too. And like I said, maybe that stems from his dad's situation. Maybe his dad or his mom was something else and it passed down to him. So maybe he's half demon or whatever. Or maybe it's because his dad was such a terrible human being that a demon possessed him. So he's a mixture of the two. Like, demons in this world kind of coexist with their human, host. So maybe that whole situation is going on with Mikey. Whatever's left of Mikey's soul is still in there staying blue. But then you have the demon kind of being the one that kind of controls where he goes. I am curious to know where he was going to go. Like, was he going to go to blue? And if he did, what would he have done? I mean, the question also too is, can Mikey be killed? Like, he's already dead. So could a body like in his condition get any deader? I don't know. I did like the fact is that Nick tried to bend over backwards. He's trying to fix everything. He's trying to make things right. He goes to LeDick and he's like, hey, I'm not a good guy. He's like, but there's a little girl out there. He didn't even bother trying to talk about it being, Haley being his, because, no one's really going to take him seriously on that, because it's like, I even love LeDick being like, come on. There's an honor. He's like, oh, don't talk to me about the honor of scumbags. It's like, yes, I'm a scumbag. We're all scumbags, but there's got to be honor. You kind of like honor among thieves. It's like the way Nick handled everything. It's like, oh, you killed all our friends. It's like, technically I didn't. Those weren't your friends. Those weren't my friends. It's like, you took my finger and everything. And I guess for him, it's just kind of the scumbaggery is just kind of like, whatever. Because he just let Nick go. He's like, okay, you want some C4 or whatever? Here. I love the fact is Nick tried to pay him with his own money and whatever. It's like, it's your fault. You don't want to keep pushing me to play. And it's just like, whatever, Nick. So I'm surprised he didn't bother taking his money back. So I think on some level, there is some of that kind of honorable scumbaggery, I guess, in some sense, for it to like work like that. The fact is he didn't even take any money. It's just kind of like, I don't care. I'm just going to go home. Because like for him, it's like, Nick, you're not a hero. All you know how to do is kill. All you do is know how to destroy. But for Nick, it's like, he spent so much of his life, being that. He doesn't want to do that. He's like, this is one thing I can do. I can do something right. I can do some good, and that's helping Haley. And it won't make up for all the terrible crap I've done or the terrible person I am, but I can at least do this one thing. I might be the only one who can, so. I was like, had my fingers crossed for that whole plan of trying to like get to blue, but it didn't work. Whatever, I guess, maybe that's why LeDick was so quick to be like, oh yeah, take whatever you want, because he knew all the C4 or dynamite or whatever it is that Nick ultimately took was defective. Maybe that's why he was just kind of like, go ahead, I don't care. Why he didn't bother with the money, because he knew whatever Nick was going to do was going to ultimately get him killed. I don't know, maybe. But I was kind of hoping like, oh, it'd blow up at the last minute or something like that. No, but he ends up taking it to the garage and everything. And I love that dude was like, okay, he basically giving Nick final words, and the dude's like, what are you talking about? It's like, come on, dude, it's Nick Sachs. And Nick's like, oh, yeah, thanks. Because the guy's like, oh my God, like, he's like, you want to commemorate this moment? He's like, well, yeah, you're Nick Sachs. You're a living legend. He's like, well, I won't, that whole living part won't be for long, but it's like, wanted to take a photo and everything, giving Nick this point to kind of have his little epiphany about like, oh man, how much he misses, Happy, and just how things kind of are in a different perspective now, just kind of like, you kind of finally take a look, like a step back and realize just kind of like all the things you kind of done wrong in your life. But it's only at the end that it all kind of comes flashing out and gets pointed to you. But I was impressed with like that, how everything went down in that garage, especially the final blows, because he pushes that one guy into the chainsaw, the chainsaw and they die, his back falls backwards and lands on the guy with the chainsaw and ends up, I think, cutting his throat. And it's like, you almost have Nick standing there like, I can't believe that just happened. That worked out like that. Okay, less work for me, I guess. And then he's telling Happy, it's like, I believe in you. Hey, the fact is you're still alive means Haley's alive. Let's put our BS together with, partner, not really saying partners, but symbolically saying partners. And you see like Happy's wings start working again, and he's a little like blued up again. It's like, because I believe in you, and it's like, yeah, let's go save Haley. And it's like, yeah, the team is back together again. I just like, it's so much amazingness in that regard. And there's also the same aspect about Smoothie. We ended up learning a random fact about Smoothie. We did find out that he's an orphan, so that was kind of interesting. I wondered, is that why he serves Blue so? I mean, I guess maybe that's supposed to be like, well, the fact of the matter is he grew up in a terrible environment, hence why he became kind of a sociopath that he is. Maybe Blue even took him in. I doubt that's the case, but who knows, like, what his situation was. Cause he's like, oh, you know, look at you. You're kind of looking like a wannabe, orphan Annie. It's like, you know, it takes one orphan to know another one, you know? And I love him going around like, oh, because, you know, Nick confronted Blue about like Haley being his and everything. It's like, you've got my daughter. And so he confronts the kids about it. And the kids are like, one of the kids was like, hey, Haley, whoever you are, reveal yourself, because it's like, all you're going to do is get us in trouble. And his Smoothie's like, you don't be like, pops him. It's like, nobody likes a snitch. Don't step all over my scene. But he knew from the very beginning who Haley was, and even tried to say like, oh, your dad's dead, which kind of breaks her belief even more, which later on it's like, well, fine, if no one's going to save us, we're going to have to save ourselves. Like her taking charge like that. I'm like, that's so badass. It's also interesting too that they did have like those outfits on and everything. Like, I think at the time I was talking about it, I couldn't exactly think of the term of what this was being called, but it's like child trafficking was like what is, yeah, because like Mary says it herself, it's like, oh, I had no idea you were part of the whole child trafficking situation, Blue. And so it's like, for what purpose? Once again, like they're selling children, but I think it still applies of like, oh, we're going to sell it to whoever. Well, I mean, sadly, it's going to be to whoever pays the most money is what that's all going to be about. Because I was thinking like it was kind of like it can coincide with the whole adoption thing of like, oh yeah, these are kids we stole and we're going to give the people who are going to pay for these kids off the black market. Essentially, it still kind of apply, but that's just going to be like a subsection of just this whole debauchery and just effed up situation that is this whole child trafficking situation, which is like super sucky and super terrible. Which is super messed up because Smoothie's like, I can't kill you because you already belong to someone else. You know, they're not even looking at them as people, as property. Hence the whole like trying to make them on their best behavior and stuff like that. What that whole twisted thing's about. But it's like, he can't kill them, but he can hurt them, which is like, ugh. And we kind of seen what kind of person Smoothie is too, so that does not bode well for them. So last time we see them is them running away from him. It's like, okay, some of us will go this way, others of us will go that way. We'll try to split up and try, and they can't capture all of us. So like I said, we're slowly but surely kind of figuring out what this is all about. Like I said, everything so far doesn't seem like it has like, it is kind of like grounded in a sense of like, okay, there's all of these events, but these things are all connected to like this whole child trafficking, even the Santa dude. Once again, the whole like password situation is about getting Blue power to make, just kind of solidify his position as kind of top dog, essentially, kind of get him the level of, if not to be the Don himself, or just at the very least have power equal to the Dawn and everything, because that vacuum is open, so he's trying to fill that position. So it's all kind of grounded. Yeah, there's all the weird stuff, but for now, it's kind of grounded in all of that. And then once again, like I said, you sprinkle in the element of like, as we saw, more imaginary friends. There's like a supernatural, weird, monstery, supernatural, mystical creature side of things. With the imaginary friends and demons and everything, and they kind of swirl together in the story. What's also interesting too is that we did learn about a little bit more about Mary in this episode, in particular her dad. Her mom, kind of like a little more lucid, ends up hearing Blue when he ends up leaving, and she ends up telling Mary, like, the fact of the matter is there was a group of people that came years ago, back when Mary was a baby, threatening her if her dad didn't kind of play the game. But he was super pissed when he found out, and that was the same night was the last time that his mom, or Mary's mom, had saw her husband. So he had died after that, and she ends up pointing out that one of those said people was Blue. So Blue is connected in all of this, and then you have Mary's mom like taking medicine and mixing it with milk because it's not supposed to mix. And so either she killed herself, or at the very least she, at least, put herself in a position to be put in a hospital. The point is, like, she tried to remove herself from the situation because it's like, all Mary's done so far is try to protect her, and it's like, I don't want you doing that. I don't want you sacrificing so much to protect me, because Mary has kind of, done a lot of gray area, not even just gray, some very bad things in the service of just protecting her mom. So her mom wanted to change it. It's like, this time it's my turn to protect you. So definitely not a good thing, but this will mean that going forward, Nick and Mary will both be on the same side about this whole like Blue situation. So that's a good thing, at least, like I said, overall, a fantastic episode. I'm so eager to see what goes on in the next episode. Apparently, we're already closing in on the end of the season, too, because there's only 2 episodes left. So that kind of took me by surprise. So I guess this is kind of a short first season. Maybe the season's actually a little, it said like 2 episodes left, but maybe the season's actually a little bit longer than I thought it was. Like, what episode is this? Isn't this only like episode 6? So does that mean there's only like 8 episodes this season? I don't know. Because usually it's sci-fi, so it's like maybe 10 or 10 to 13 is typically the number. So it just kind of took me by surprise that it's kind of like so short. But I'm very interested to see how this all plays out with everything, with the whole Mikey situation, Happy and Nick reunited, kind of finding out more about this whole situation. It seems like, in particular, like, because I caught a glimpse of a preview, and it seems like Mr. Bug, we might kind of find out who he is, maybe, and find out what his whole part to play in this is. I'm sure he's just some bad guy trying to profit off this situation, just like Blue is. So, like, that does beg the question that maybe this was the same job, the same position that they were offering Mary's dad, like this all the way back then. Because that begs the question, like, is Mr. Bug the top dog, or are they all like employees of someone else, even Blue? And the way Blue is acting, it seems like Mr. Bug is the top dog, because the way he's acting kind of freaked out about everything. So when he was asking Smoothie to kind of clean things up. So, but also it's like, what was it that Blue wanted to ask Nick? We ended up finding out last episode. It's like, oh yeah, like Nick ended up running into Blue and Santa Claus, and was like, oh yeah, he wanted Nick to do something. So I figured it probably coincides with this too. So I said that then, and I still think that probably rings true. So once again, that's probably what led to the whole like Nick falling, because there was a whole like, well, the fact of the matter is it's what I said last episode, but I'll reiterate it. It's because Nick didn't play ball, they ended up framing him, hence the whole IA planting evidence on him and everything. What exactly, we don't know. Maybe it's something we'll kind of find out in the upcoming episodes. But like I said, we would just have to wait and see. Like I said, I'm super excited to see what goes down. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.